Hey everyone, my name is Andrew Huezo, and my learning partner is Yongyi. This is our Costa Rica Country Report for Political Science 006. Today we'll be giving you a tour around Costa Rica's geography, economy, allies, foreign policy, culture, and diplomatic practices. Let's begin.
Here is a map of Costa Rica. The country is in Central America with Nicaragua to the north and Panama to its south. It's unique because it has coastlines on both the Pacific Ocean and the Caribbean Sea, which gives it a strategic position for trade and tourism. The capital city, San Jose, is located in the central part of the country. This location makes Costa Rica a natural hub for regional cooperation, and makes it a very popular destination for tourists and tourism. Costa Rica's economy is valued at around 95.3 billion US dollars, with a GDP per person of about $18,500. The employment rate is around 7.5%, which is slightly higher than the regional average. The economy is heavily dependent on exports. Its main products are medical devices, bananas, and coffee. Medical devices might surprise some people, but Costa Rica has a very growing high-tech manufacturing sector. Bananas and coffees are long-standing exports that has been part of the economy for decades. The United States is Costa Rica's largest trading partner, buying about 40% of its exports. Other major partners include China, Mexico, and the European Union. However, the country continues to face challenges, such as a very large national debt and income inequality, which can affect social stability and limit government's spending on services such as healthcare and education. Even though Costa Rica is one of the most stable democracies in Latin America, it still faces some important social and political problems, such as that the justice system can be very slow and time-consuming, which means it often takes a very long time for cases to be resolved. Violence against women is still a major concern, and despite of having already set strong laws, enforcement can be inconsistent. Another issue is the treatment of Nicaraguan migrants, who makes up a large proportion of foreign-born residents in the country. While many Nicaraguans come to work, they sometimes face discrimination and social exclusion. Politically, people generally trust the democratic system, but there are rising concerns about corruption and whether the government can handle increasing crime rates or they can't. Costa Rica used to be a Spanish colony and gained independence on September 15, 1821. Today, it has a population of 5.2 million people, with a literacy rate close to 99% and a life expectancy of around 81 years. It's a democratic republic and has no military. Something that is very unique in the region is the fact that it demolished in 1849. In 1949. The decision allows the country to spend more on healthcare, education, and environmental protection.
Now that we talked about some general facts, we're going to talk about Costa Rican culture, which is very important to the region. First, we're going to look at cuisine. Typically, Costa Rica dishes include rice, beans, and some form meat, as the very popular dishes include gale pinto, casado, and some variety of fresh foods. Next, we're going to talk about music, as the music within the region typically includes folk music, traditional dances, and some other colorful art, which is very popular across the region, and people express themselves through music and art. Similarly, Costa Rica is predominantly Roman Catholic, as 47% of the population identify with the faith, as it ties to holidays and just everyday life. Next, as we stated earlier, Costa Rica is a very biodiverse region. Therefore, it's a very popular tourist destination, as tourism accounts for roughly 8.2% of Costa Rica's GDP, as it provides rainforests, beaches, volcanoes, as these all attract visitors from across the world, while promoting ecotourism as part of its goal. Similarly, some of the very most popular places to visit in Costa Rica include Monte Verde, Manuel Antonio, and Olona volcano.
Costa Rica's most important ally is the United States. They have strong trade relations, with the US buying nearly 40% of Costa Rica's exports. They also cooperate on environmental protection projects, democracy promotion, and economic development programs. Other important allies include Mexico and the European Union, which work with Costa Rica on trade agreements and environmental sustainability, and human rights projects. China is also becoming a bigger partner, especially in trade, but the relationship between the two countries isn't as close as it is with the United States. These allies are based on shared values such as peace, democracy, and environmental stewardship. They have been built over the years through consistent trade, joint education programs, and technology cooperation and shared political goals. To summarize, Costa Rica is a small country, but an important player in its region. It has a stable democracy, no military, and a very strong allies, especially with the United States. It often faces challenges like income inequality, corruption concerns, and justice system delays, but it continues to focus on peaceful diplomacy, environmental protection, and human rights.
Next, we're going to talk about rivals and enemies. Overall, Costa Rica has no official enemies, as they have no standing army, as they mainly focus their foreign policy on peace. However, there has been border tensions in the past, especially with Nicaragua, as there has been disputes over river rights and migration. Similarly, there's also some tensions due to drug trafficking from neighbor countries in South America, as Costa Rica has fallen victim to these effects due to their location in the middle of Central America. However, most of these issues are related to territory, migration, and crime, as overall Costa Rica resolves mainly their conflicts through international courts and peaceful diplomacy, and not military force, as they don't have a standing military. In summary, they generally are considered one of the most safest countries in Central America, as they promote peace and have very strong diplomatic relations. Next, we're going to talk about the relationship with the UN and the OSA. Although Costa Rica is a very small country compared to some of the other global superpowers within the United Nations, they still are a key and active member within the United Nations. Joining in 1945, Costa Rica, as stated before, is the supporter of peace, environmental protection, and human rights, as they often speak in UN conferences on these meetings, especially with being a very biodiverse region. Furthermore, Costa Rica is also a member of the Organization of American States, or the OSA, as they work together with these countries in these regions on issues like human rights, fair elections, and promoting democracy within the region. In summary, Costa Rica prefers diplomacy and global cooperation over the military force, which matches its peaceful identity of the people and its culture. Next, we're going to talk about the foreign policy Costa Rica has with the United States. As the United States is Costa Rica's largest export market, receiving around 40% of its exports. On the other side, Costa Rica imports vehicles, fuel, and consumer goods from the United States. Additionally, the United States also assists Costa Rica in fighting drug trafficking and organized crime due to their location in Central America, as I previously stated, as their drug path is between Mexico and the United States. Within looking at both countries, it's clear they work together on clean energy, promoting biodiversity, and climate change initiatives, according to the U.S. State Department. Furthermore, it's clear both Costa Rica and the United States relationship is very friendly and stable, especially if Costa Rica's stance on no active military, as this alliance can be seen as a very strong connection in bolstering trade and protecting the country with their accordance with the United States. Next, we're going to talk about human rights and democracy within Costa Rica. As previously stated, Costa Rica is a very democratic country, as Costa Rica has been a part of a presidential democracy since 1949, as the country allows free press, free elections, and allows high political citizens' rights. Here on the slideshow, you can see a photo of the current president of Costa Rica, Rodrigo Chavez Robos, which showcases their democracy and presidential elections. However, some challenges do remain regarding human rights and democracy issues, as there are issues with a slow justice system in sexual assault violence cases, and some discrimination against migrants, especially Nicaraguans who have migrated there, according to the Human Rights Natural Watch. Still, Costa Rica promotes peace, democracy, and human rights throughout this region, as previously stated, as they are very strong promoters of diplomacy, environmental leadership, and are part of a broader strategy to promote human security globally. Now that we took a tour around Costa Rica and learned about the geography, economy, allies, foreign policy, culture, and some diplomatic practices, I believe the phrase that best describes Costa Rica is pura vida, as this national phrase reflects Costa Rica's identity, as it means pure life. Today, many of the countries have adopted this phrase as a way of living life and promoting peace and happiness. Therefore, I believe this phrase best reflects Costa Rica and the way it stands as a country. I hope you enjoyed our project, and then here's our works cited. Thank you. Pura vida.